When Clark grows up, he's going to have all kinds of people telling him what to do and who to be. But you and I both know he's going to listen to that beat of his own drum first, to the sound of that big heart of his. Today on the Comic Book Report, Superman Supercorp by Joshua Williamson. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I've finally reached the dawn of DC era, and today we're taking a look at Superman Volume 1 Supercorp by Joshua Williamson. I heard resoundingly positive feedback for these issues as they were coming out month to month that I knew that this was a title I was hoping to look at when I reached collected editions. I am elated to say I did pick up the copy you see here and I had the chance to read it. As far as what I thought about it though, before we jump into that, I want to shout out our channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I highly encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link for it in the video description, and if you see anything there you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, The Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you do use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's Superman review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Joshua Williamson and illustrated by Jamal Campbell. The comics in this volume were published by DC Comics beginning in 2023. The volume itself collects Superman, the 2023 series, issues 1 through 5, and Superman 2023 Annual. And finally, this is a standard size hardcover edition with matte print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 168 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at that standard size hardcover from DC Comics, and wow is this a beaut. We have some incredible artwork here from Campbell, and I love it. To me, this cover single-handedly captures the warmth and just joy of this Superman book. It is such a blast, and I think that this was such a perfectly picked cover. It invites you in and gives you just a sampling of what you can expect in the book itself. I think the design work should absolutely be commended for this dust jacket. Looking at the spine, we have some crisp fonts, which I really love. It just is that shock of white text as well against the colored background. You will see, if you haven't noticed already, that this is actually a wraparound cover for the dust jacket. I'll do a kind of spread so you can see everything at a glance in a moment. But yes, it is a full wraparound, and I love it. I think it looks great on the bookshelf. The spine is really nicely done, and just really good stuff here. As far as the back cover as well, it does not disappoint. We have the darker edges of this run kind of displayed on the back cover, and it's also just brilliantly arrayed by Campbell. Really beautiful stuff here. It showcases some of the other characters we can expect. Really a wonderful dust jacket. Now that we've done our first quick look, I will spend one more minute going over the dust jacket as well as seeing the hardcover art on the book itself. Okay, zooming out so we can see everything at a glance, I'm going to go ahead and start removing that dust jacket. Also showing the interior flaps we have of the dust jacket, which I believe are both from Lee Bermejo. Absolutely gorgeous, more photorealistic looking kind of art. And as we spread the dust jacket, you'll see it is absolutely that wraparound cover that I mentioned. Even the color palette on this wraparound image is amazing. We go from the warmth all the way to the cooler colors, with Superman and Allies' side being the warmer colors and the monsters and Lex Luthor being on the cooler side of the color palette. And it's almost like an interesting gradient across it. Really beautifully done. I absolutely love the exteriors. As far as the hardback art itself, this is another wraparound image. Can you believe it? It's a really incredible Superman action sequence lifted directly from this book, and I think it was really well done. I think the art for the hardcover looks really sharp, printed on it, really good stuff. There you go, you can see the full spread there. Absolutely adore it. We have Superman just saving people, doing what he does. A beautiful set of art here on the exteriors. Okay, and I want to take a moment to examine that glued binding I mentioned earlier. You might be able to tell the book didn't lay totally flat for me, and we do have some images falling into that gutter, but nothing too critical. Overall, it's not too bad of a binding. I think it held up well, and if I pushed the pages down, I didn't really miss much at all. I may have preferred a sewn binding, but this is not too bad. Okay, and now that we've finished the exteriors and a little bit about the build of the book, we can jump into this collection proper. After the end pages, we have the title page, the creators, that kind of bibliography, publication information, and then we're off to the races with issue 1 of Supercorp. I really like this. Like I said, this is the Dawn of DC era, which I believe went after Dark Crisis. Admittedly, I am a bit behind on DC events, but luckily I didn't really need to read that to enjoy this. This is a Volume 1 and Issue 1, and it's really catered to new readers. It is very, very new reader friendly. Have there been things that have gone on before this? Absolutely. Decades of continuity. However, it's just such a good on-ramp for new readers and, returning readers alike. I love Superman, but I haven't read all of his bibliography, of course. I'm actually reading the Warworld saga right now, which is a run on Action Comics that happened not too much before this. In fact, it is a bit of a point that he is back on Earth at the start of this. So that is one of my more contemporary Superman reads I'm still making my way through, but I did decide to pick this up and read it real quick as it's only a few issues. The writer, Joshua Williamson, is definitely a bit of a draw for me for this book, absolutely. I really like what I've read of his indie title, Birthright, over at Image Comics. I enjoyed parts of what I read of his Flash run as well. He also wrote a little bit on Batman that I actually thought was really good, that I don't think people talk about enough. Anyway, this is a writer that I've been really spending time reading more and more from, so when I heard he had a really buzzworthy and positive Superman run, I couldn't wait to jump on board. As far as Jamal Campbell on art, this is the first art I've ever seen from this creator, but I am immediately a fan, and I think this style is absolutely fitting for our favorite blue Boy Scout. As far as the storyline for this goes, it really sets up a new status quo for our favorite Man of Steel, but it is something that feels immediately familiar. We have Lois and Clark back at the Daily Planet with their friend Jimmy Olsen. But perhaps the newest wrinkle is that Lex Luthor is behind bars in prison, and he is speaking to Superman almost at all times, kind of becoming this interior voice, knowing that Superman is training his ears to always listen for certain people, him included. And Lex is kind of taunting him, saying, "You need me, we have to stop things that are coming, you and I together can help save Metropolis." And Superman really tries to ignore it, but while he's in prison, we find out that LexCorp has kind of been repurposed to become Supercorp, and it's been given to Superman to help kind of facilitate a better, more utopian Metropolis and world. Superman is of course suspicious, and ultimately this gambit really just provokes him. He wants to race over to talk to Lex, but is kind of intercepted by villains. He does fight them, and we get kind of from one plot point to the next. We do have some discussion between Lex and Superman, and ultimately this really boils down to this idea that while Lex is imprisoned, there are other big bad people that are going to vie for kind of the villainous throne in Metropolis. You kind of get this feeling that Lex, no matter how evil he was, he did kind of want what he thought was best for Metropolis. It just maybe wasn't always Superman. But with him off the board, so to speak, some of Lex's enemies are going to come out of the woodwork to try to attack Metropolis, and that's ultimately what happens in the pages here. So we have this really uneasy alliance between Lex and Superman, as Superman now has Supercorp and is maybe trying to get more information from Lex to stop some of his villains. I really enjoyed this setup. I think it feels fresh, and it really just drives home this connection between Lex and Superman, that we have to kind of work together to stop this greater threat, and I dug it. Throughout the pages as well, we have a couple supporting casts of characters appear or show up, like I think Supergirl kind of cameos. We have John Kent, Superman, showing up briefly. Like I said, Lois, Jimmy Olsen, some of the main players here, of course Lex. Also notable, we have a couple of Superman villains returning in really fun ways. We have Livewire kind of at the beginning and middle of this collection. We have the White Banshee character, who I really like. She's utilized in really fascinating ways, as well as the Parasite. And Parasite really serves as a primary villain throughout this piece, although he is being manipulated like some of these others by the sort of puppet master characters they introduced, those aforementioned villains or enemies of Lex. They're kind of working from the shadows, and they're just getting on Superman's radar as we reach kind of the climax of this collection. We also have some kind of interesting cameos with like Bizarro Superman, and there's just a lot of good kind of lore building and setup we get in this volume. I do think that this is the first kind of mini arc, and we do have a good beginning, middle, and end, but it also cliffhangs and leaves more for the future. I know after reading this first volume, I cannot wait to read more of Williamson's Superman. I know some of you watching this might be ongoing kind of floppy or digital issue readers, so you might be up to date with this title. You'll have to let me know if it's still going strong, but if this first collection is any indication, I think I'm going to be absolutely hooked. I haven't been this excited for a Superman ongoing title in a minute, and I am really loving this first volume. The art throughout from Campbell, like I said, it just really fits the feel of this Superman. We not only get some great action and, yes, a little darkness, we get so much of the warmth and just, I'm not sure, beauty or optimism of this character or this world. I really, really love what this artist brings to the table. There is kind of an animated feel to it in a way, but it's not overly rounded or cartoony. It kind of hits this perfect balance, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought the coloring was gorgeous as well. I will say, like I said earlier, this is a matte paper stock. I would have loved to see a glossy reprint of this. I would love to get it in oversized, but I think what we have here is pretty great still. I really love the presentation of this book. I just think it's beautiful to look at. Really, really strong artwork here. I think overall what I really like about Superman Supercorp is that it's just an effective relaunch of this title. It's a great onboarding book for people that want to read a contemporary Superman and don't want to get bogged down in just years and years of continuity. I know that a lot of the big two publishers, Marvel, DC, they do these kind of relaunches, like the all new this, the new 52 that, every so often they do these kind of refreshes. They get new issue ones and they make it just accessible to readers again. And I really applaud them sometimes for doing this. It has to be hard to juggle alienating longer-term fans while always making more on-roads for a new generation of readers or new people that want to get into the hobby. And that being said, I think that this is really done well here with Superman Supercorp by Williamson, as it really does honor kind of the legacy of this character. There's a lot of real mainstay characters here. There's a lot of things that kind of pick up after previous stories, and yet it's just such a good entry point if you just want to jump into a recent read. This book really does have a bit of it all. I really like how a lot of the central cast was utilized. I think that Superman and Clark, they absolutely feel like the character you want. There's no gimmick, there's no darkness. It's just really optimistic and wonderful. Lex, just, you never feel like you can trust him, but you feel like he is trying to do better, maybe. But I love the kind of feel for Lex in this book, where you are kind of rooting for him. You're sort of in his corner as the lesser of two evils. You almost want to trust him, but something in you knows you can't. And I think that that's a perfect place for Lex Luthor to live. I think Lois is absolutely great in this collection. I'd love to see even more agency from her in the future, but the scenes we do get are fantastic. A couple really sweet relational moments between her and Superman that I really like seeing. Jimmy Olsen is really funny as well in this collection. He gets into some hijinks that I didn't expect, some twists and turns that I won't spoil too much here, but really a fun use of Jimmy Olsen in this kind of debut Williamson collection here. And yeah, the villains. I think that the main big bads, Lex's villains, are really the primary antagonists of this run. And I think that every other villain almost feels secondary, or you get this feeling that they're really not wanting to terrorize the city in the way that they're maybe doing it. But I like that. I like that they're all kind of in service of this greater villainous arc that we're just starting to scratch the surface of. I think that this really did set things up well. It established what the new status quo and kind of baseline is for Superman. And I just think it's well done. I like that we are back in Metropolis, we're back with Clark, and we just have a straight-laced, straightforward superhero epic. Not to mention, it has some really great action sequences. There's almost like light horror vibes in some portions of it. Like I said, the kind of parasite subplot. There's a lot of just kind of creepiness in that whole issue or two that I think were really, really well done. And after the main few issues, we do have the Superman Annual, which takes place kind of during the events of this book, but it doesn't pick up after the cliffhanger in the last numbered issue. For that, I assume we have to go to Volume 2. But the Annual is a ton of fun as well. And before long, at the back of the book, we get to the bonus features, which we do have a kind of cover art and variant cover art gallery, which I did like to see. However, we do have the artwork for the covers largely kind of thumbnailed. We don't have full page variant covers, unfortunately, but I was still happy to see so many of these things included in the bonus features at the back. And really, there is just page after page of these thumbnailed variant covers, which is really great. We get some bonus art. We get to see kind of an image of different floppies they have out there in single issues. But that's really the only extras we get in this collection. After that, we just have the back of the book. So that is what we have here for Superman Supercorp, the first volume of Joshua Williamson's time on Superman. And wow, what a ride. And that's going to do it for this volume. All that's left to do now is to give Superman Supercorp a grade. For a wonderful entry point for a modern Superman, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Superman Supercorp by Joshua Williamson and Jamal Campbell an A-. This to me is a must-read for any modern Superman fan. We have gorgeous artwork and so many of your favorite Superman franchise characters. The book is packed to the brim with intrigue, action, and even a little bit of romance. It really does have it all. I think between this and the Warworld saga, these books have gotten me excited to be a Superman fan again. Anyone who maybe mistakenly believes that Superman doesn't have much to say or that his books are bland or unenjoyable, you gotta pick up books like Superman Supercorp to just see how fun this character can still be after all this time. Great for returning fans and brand new readers alike. I cannot recommend this highly enough. But let me know what you think of Superman Supercorp, or if there are any other Dawn of DC titles I should be looking at. Please let me know all of that in the comments, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, that comment we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.